Uh-oh, that's not what's supposed to be there. Here we go. There it is. There it is. Nice start to the stream today. A little technical forgetting there. Welcome everyone to another Hygraph Live coding live stream. We are doing some fun work today. But I think it's important, again, just like last week, maybe the week before, this is a chill stream. I guess it was 2 weeks ago that we did our last live stream. Very chill stream. We're going to be doing some live coding today. We're going to be talking about some new functionality inside of Astro. You may remember from 2 weeks ago, we did another stream where we did new functionality inside of Astro. This team is pumping out all sorts of new and exciting pieces to their framework. I'm really excited about the framework in general. I love the static first nature of it. I love they got some new server stuff. We talked about integrations last time where we did their content collections. I think that was a really cool piece of functionality. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is arguably more exciting. And I've been playing a little bit with it. And that is the Astro Actions that just launched stable. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and share my screen here and say hi to everyone. Hi, Romina. Hi, Angie. Hi, Gabrielle. How's it going? A lot of cool stuff happening today. So be sure to join us either on YouTube or wherever you are. Post over in the chat. I guess stream with that. If you have any questions, do let me know. But what we're talking about today is actually something that went stable in Astro 4.15, which again, semantic versioning, super fun. We get really high numbers in that second spot there. They launched a whole bunch of stuff in this one, but I know Ben Holmes has been doing a lot of work on this actions feature that we're going to talk about today, and it is stable. That's really where the stuff comes from. It has been experimental in previous versions. I had not played with it in the experimental versions because it probably wasn't ready to play with, but it is stable. This is the official API surface, so I'm comfortable showing it off today. I've done some playing with it in my spare time. I've put together my own little fun demo that I actually shared on Twitter the other day, just in like some weekend work on the long weekend, because I'm that excited about this feature set. But what it boils down to is a new way of writing server code for Astro. Astro being typically what we think of as like a static first methodology, it has a lot of great server functionality as well. So we're going to be taking a look at that today with this new actions. Actions takes the place of kind of this methodology, which if you're familiar with Next, this is very much the way that Next works. It's the way that server functions, or serverless functions, I should say, have worked in Astro up until now. You export a new function, you call it post, you call it get, you call it push, whatever the HTTP action that you're taking is, and then you write code inside of it. It's not hard, but there's a lot of boilerplate that goes into it. There's a lot of functionality that you have to kind of know how to do. And it's not necessarily type safe. You have to bring your own typing with you. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. Astro has made actions, and they are a really cool way of doing server functionality inside. And I'll be like slightly controversial real fast and say, like, it feels like the old days of PHP. I did a lot of work in PHP a decade ago, and there was a lot of bad in that too. But there's a lot of really good functionality when you kind of paired your front end code and your back end code together, and they could kind of play off each other. It felt really nice, and a lot of the newer stuff that's coming out feels like it harkens back to those days a little bit, in kind of how you can marry your front end and your back end. And I really am digging a lot. So in the end, the cool thing about this is not just that we get this more streamlined code, this more ergonomic, this more developer-friendly code for our backend functions, but they pair very, very nicely with our front end. They make progressive enhancement much, much easier. And we're going to do that a little bit today with this kind of idea of the form actions. So what we're going to do today, I haven't done yet. I've done in my playground code that I've worked on, but I figured what we would do is we would take the blog that we have that is written in Next, Nuxt, and Astro. There's code bases in our GitHub for all of them. I would take the Astro version of it, and I would add, I think, comments to our blog functionality. So like the very core, some of the first user-generated content before Web 2.0, before social media, we had comments. And before that, we had forums, but I'm not going to build a forum today, that's for sure. But there's no comment functionality on our blog starter. This is a basic blog. It has a couple blog posts. The blog posts have rich text, have an author, have a date, but no comments. So I figured we would walk through getting set up. We would at least get things posting into Hygraph via the actions. And I think that we'll have some content modeling fun. We'll have some other stuff that kind of come along the way to get this done. So before we can dive into the code, I do want to mention a few things that I have updated that don't exist in the current GitHub repository for the Astro blog starter. First and foremost, to have our actions work, we do need to have Astro server, right? We need to be able to render this as a serverless function. You could go hybrid or you could go full server. What I did before this stream, as you can kind of see in the terminal here, is I ran the npx astro add Netlify. I had Netlify, one of our partners. You could go Vercel, you could go AWS, you could go Node. They have adapters for all those. You have to tell it what it's going to build towards for when you deploy. So in this case, I just went with Netlify because I'm most familiar there. But basically what that did is it installed a new npm package, and then it came into my astro.config. It changed my output. I didn't have an output specified. When you don't have an output specified, it automatically goes towards static. And then it added this adapter for Netlify. And you can see up here, it is importing Netlify in the file here. That makes this a server rendered, an SSR Astro implementation. Again, we could make this hybrid and have some of our pages statically rendered. I wasn't exactly sure and haven't done enough exploration to know how that interplay between actions and static are going to play. So I went safe, I went full server, but know that I'll be doing more experimentation in the future. To convert this over to a server rendered SSR Astro instance, I had to go through and I changed our posts and our pages, which were using get static paths, so that it could build these statically out. I changed all the code that was here. There was about 10 lines of code. You can see that the deletions are here. And I changed it to just run as this kind of server rendered thing. It takes the slug from the params, passes it to a Hygraph client, a GraphQL request client, passes it the slug, and then returns out. And I did that for both posts and pages just so we wouldn't have any errors along the way. But today we're primarily going to be focusing on the posts dynamic route. You can see we're getting the slug here. And you can see over here, it is rendering, it is not broken, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're going to be doing some form of action here. So if we come over to this lovely blog post, we actually have a full guide, which I'll share over in chat, which I think just posts to YouTube. So if you're not watching on YouTube, head over there to get the URL. But basically it is docs.astro.build/n/guides/actions. So yeah, so this is what we're going to be kind of basing it off of today. We've got a few things to think about. We can get our typing for our actions. We can have this be fully type safe. We can use Zod to create our schema. We might do that a little bit today, but also we have this new function that we get from the Astro library called define action. And that's where a lot of this is going to be happening. So you can see we actually had this new URL listed out here. This new file path here, source actions index. So what you're going to end up doing, no matter what, is you're going to have an index file inside of your actions directory. That's going to be where you define out all of your actions. So you can still break this up into multiple folders. You just import these actions into this file and call it out. I'm going to be building it in the index today just for simplicity, just for education, but absolutely you would want to break this out into multiple files for cleanliness sake later on. So I'm going to grab this entire thing here. We're not going to actually base it off of this too much, but we do need inside of our source an actions directory, and we're going to have an index.ts file. By default, you can do JavaScript or TypeScript for Astro. It's all built in. It's all ready to go. You have an object here for your server. and you can define out keys, and each of those keys is going to take an action of some sort. In this case, we'll have one that just says create comment, I think. And then we're going to define out our action here. I'm going to pull up what I've been playing with elsewhere, just so I've got my own little cheat sheet. So I remember everything that goes in here, and we don't have to refer to the documentation too much. So inside of our define action, what we're going to do is we're going to have an object that gets passed into that. And this object has a few different things. No GitHub Copilot, don't worry about it yet. We're going to have a handler. We can define out our input schema. And we're also going to pass something. This is important for what we're doing today. We want to accept a form submission on this, because a comment is a form. So this is going to give us a little additional functionality that we can actually get our form data off of. The other things that we can have here, let's see if it actually, we could have input, which would be where our schema goes. I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to start off with just a handler. The handler is going to take an async function, and then it can have any of the things that you get from the request. In this case, we probably will have, if I'm accepting things, a name. We're going to want the actual comment body. And I haven't defined the form yet. I'm kind of writing out my function, and then I'll define my form. Name, the comment body, and then we'll need an identifier of some sort for the blog post this is going to be associated with. So let's just get an ID. Yeah, post ID sounds pretty good. And then, hey, look, this is like full nothingness, right? Thanks, GitHub Copilot. But this is basically what we're going to do, right? We're going to take the comment. We're going to then add the comment to Hygraph. And then we're going to return success and the comment, I think, is kind of what we might want to do. We'll see if we get that far. We'll see what we want to do there. But that's the general idea of what I'm going for here. But let's start very simple. Let's just get this returning a console log with that set of information, right? Name, comment, and post ID. Just so we can kind of take this one step at a time. So I'm going to save that in. No errors yet. Good. And we're not actually utilizing this yet. So we're actually going to build into our post template now this action. We're going to send this action to a form. In fact, let's go ahead and instead of putting this on the post itself, maybe we want to have comment functionality in more places. So we can actually make a component for this. So I'll make a comment form component. We'll make it an Astro component. And we're going to accept a few things. Let's have our front matter here, and then let's build out just our form real fast. So we're going to have a form. It's going to have an action that we'll pass to it here in a second. Let's not worry about that yet. And then inside of this, we're going to do a label that will be, let's call this the full name. And then we'll put an input inside of this. I'm just kind of doing shorthand for some of the stuff here. We'll call this a type of text, name of name, and I don't need anything else there, I don't believe. So we've got that, and then we'll do a text area for our actual comment. It's going to be a text area. We'll call it name equals, what do we call it? Comment, I think, which probably isn't the best naming convention there. Won't put a placeholder there as well. And then we need a button, right? So we'll do input type equals submit, I think I can do here. And this will just be a button that will submit in. I could do a button if I wanted to. We might come to that. We'll see. Save this, and then we're actually going to use this in our post. So in the post, I'm actually going to, before our actual body, let's get to where the body comes in. Publish on, it's all in the sidebar. Rich text. Here's the rich text for that. So right above that, we're going to put this. I don't want to scroll to the bottom every time, but obviously if I were making a comment section, I'd put this 100% at the bottom. And let's go ahead and bring in our comment form. We will end up needing to pass it some things, but let's see if we get this rendered on the page first. Oh, error. Can I find module at component comment form? Did I save the comment form is the first thing we have to ask ourselves. Looks like I did. I bet we imported with that VS Code import improperly. Let's see. Comment form. I don't know if this project has. Let's see if it has csconfig. It's supposed to. Did I put it in the right spot? Components, comment form.astro. Let's grab that just in case. Let's double check. Comment form.astro. Comment form is what we want. Why is it not finding it? All right. So instead of doing that, maybe that's not set up correctly. There we go. Let's do it that way instead. Do it long form. There it is. Okay. I don't really know what's messed up in my TS config, but not worth debugging here today. So we have, I love that we don't even get the form styles because Tailwind is actually stripping everything out. So real fast, just so we get this, so we can see it a little bit better. Let's go to our comment form. We'll add a class on here that is going to be equal to border. Was it B? I can't remember the Tailwind border classes. Style equals border 1 pixel solid. We'll put this on here just so we can see things easier. Again, since this is in Tailwind, we could very easily go grab some styles around that. But did I miss? Oh, that's on the button. We'll keep it on the button too. That's fine. And put it here as well. There we go. Again, super ugly form. We're not worrying about styling. We're worrying about functionality right now. So we have a name, comment body, and a submit button. Grammarly is going to be annoying me a lot. So let's disable that for the moment so that Grammarly, quit Grammarly. There we go. All right, that was just gonna be really frustrating me if that continued overlapping with my submit button. All right, so we have this. We need to give this an action, and this is where some of the magic of Astro Actions starts coming into play, and I really like it a lot. So what we're gonna do is in our front matter, we're actually going to import some functionality, right? We're gonna import the actions, which is going to be every action from our actions file, right? All the things we could potentially write in there come in with actions. We're going to bring this from Astro actions. I'd be very curious to know from the Astro team or from anyone who does more like big work around this, the benefits of going with like this as a style. Is that like new NPM? Is that something interesting there? I'm not in that ecosystem nearly enough to know that, but I like this functionality. I like the way it looks. All right. And then from there, what we can do is we can actually pass in to our action instead of passing it an actual route, right? Like defining out the route in our API directory and all that, all the stuff that we would have had to have done in the old way of making this work. We can just pass it an action from our Astro actions. So our action for our form is going to be, and again, I'm kind of scrolling down and basing this off of other things. We're going to put the curly braces there. And then we're going to take the actions object and use that key that we had, which I don't always write TypeScript, and I probably should write more TypeScript, but I absolutely love just how helpful it can be when the tools that you use TypeScript. Yeah, create comment is absolutely what we want there. So now when a user submits this form, what's going to happen is it's going to fire that serverless function, right? I don't have to write that up. I don't have to wire it up. All the boilerplate is done for me. Super handy. So what should happen, right, is when I submit this form, it submits all this data to our action, which we should log out, right? It should be logged out here if I've done my work properly and if I've remembered everything that I need to do first. I'm kind of checking over here real fast to see. I think that's all good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. All right, so let's go ahead and submit this form. We might get an error. We might go forward. My name is here. My comment is here, and submit. All right, so nothing happened here, right? Actually, I forgot one thing that we're gonna have to do, but you did see up here, it changed the URL. That's because I forgot I made this a GET request. Actions only work on form posts. So we do need to change the action. You can see it didn't actually fire in our console here. So our form on our comment form, instead of being the default form in HTML, which is a get, we're going to be, what is that? Is that type? So I don't have to go look it up in documentation. Method. The form method is going to be a post method here. Method equals post. Save that in. Now, let's go ahead and delete that query parameter just so it's not being ugly anymore. My full name, my comment. So it re-renders this page because, again, it's going to submit back to this page. And now, did it hit our function? It did, but everything's undefined. So that's our first hurdle. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real fast. So instead of destructuring here, let's go ahead and get the full request back so that I know exactly what I got going on. So console log request. And so my full name, my comment. All right. And here it is. Okay, so we are getting we're getting form data back. I thought we were just going to get that, but I must be destructuring that elsewhere in my form, in my cheat sheet. Let's see. Index form. Interesting. I'm not actually doing that. First name, last name. But I am accepting it as Zod. So let's go ahead and build our input as a Zod object as well. Again, this is going to be typing, but also hopefully gives us more information. So we're going to have our input be a z.object, which is coming from the Zod library. It's a typing library. I think it does a whole bunch of other stuff too, but it's really handy in this way. And then we're going to, inside of that, define out those fields that we're getting. And I believe Copilot is being correct here. Our name is a string, comment is a string, and post ID is going to also be a string. So then we save that. Let's go ahead and test. So then, all right, it's coming through as form. Oh, that's the old one. Did it not hit our function is the next question to answer. So no ID. Okay, embed. Let's make sure we can see things properly. All right. Okay, it's not rendering anything. Am I not console logging anymore? Console log. Let's try this now. Let's just get the, yeah, see now it's actually doing type safety. You can see there, we want our comment and we want our post ID. We get all of that again via the glory of TypeScript. Okay, let's see what we get here. Some room so we can see where things are. Full name, comment, submit that form. It is not coming through at all. Nor is it giving me any errors. All right. When I say cozy stream, I really mean stream with bugs. That's what I mean by a cozy stream. All right. So we don't need this anymore. Again, the request wasn't coming in at all there. Let me take a look. I'm actually going to bring this over. The code is super ugly, but you can kind of take a look at what I've been working on in my spare time. A bigger version of all of this. All right. So we have this idea of story submit, which is basically the comment that we've got going on here. We accept a form. We set an input with name, story, and prompt ID, which in this case would be name, comment, and our post ID. And then I've got a user in here. I'm using clerk for user information, which is also fun. So we got to find where we're using prompt ID so that we can know here. So prompts, this is where I'm doing my write to Hygraph here. Username is full name, which that's coming from our user in clerk. Story RTE is coming here, story. So I'm not having to do anything extra on that. ID, first name, last name from that, full name. Yeah, I'm just getting all of that. So I've got something that's not firing properly on our code today. All right. So that's actually correct from over there. Our handler, let me make sure the handler, oh, well, no, I'm using async, so I'm doing that properly already. It accepts. I can also grab context, but I don't actually need the context. Just so we know, you can actually pass it a secondary thing here, which is the context, which gives you all the other Astro stuff. That's a function. Interesting. So again, let's get our, just say data. Let's console log the data and see what we get. I'm actually going to restart my router, my server too, because you never know what could be causing an issue there. Maybe something's completely broken and I didn't even see it. All right, so then we pass it information. That's all correct. We are posting to it. I'm not getting anything. Interesting. All right. Components, comment form. Let's make sure that we have everything here. The name is name. The name is comment. That's what we're passing in the data, the form information. And then what we should do is let's go ahead and move ahead a little bit, because one of the things we're not getting is an error, and we can actually get that information back via actions, which is also another cool thing. So because we're doing this via a full page load and not JavaScript, what we can do is we can get the result back equals Astro, and we're going to use get action result from the Astro object actions, and for this we want the create comment action. All right, we're erroring here. Why? Get action results not exist on type. Why not? We're in a form. Here, let's am I typoing that? Is this, let's see. I did upgrade. We are getting actions. So why is that not working the way my other one works? All right, well, let's take this over to our page, actually, because I can also get it on the page itself. And let's take a look at, wow, it does not have it. So let's take a look at Astro. Let's debug right now. Let's go to the definitions. Close that out. All right. Types astro.global. URL, params, props, request, response, get action result. It's there. It's absolutely there. Why are you telling me it's not there? Interesting. Close that out. Close this. We just looked at the type. We do need to import actions. Import actions from Astro Actions. But why is this not on Astro Global when we just looked and it is defined there? Let's click through again. All right, we're declaring Astro in Astro. And when we look at that, that's, yeah, we don't want that. Declare constant Astro. Where are my types? Astro Global, right? And Astro Global had on it the get action result. Yeah, Gabrielle's saying maybe a restart would work. I think I already restarted it. But yeah, absolutely. You never know. All right, let's make sure. Let's go ahead and save that, and we'll also see what kind of error we get in the front end, because that'll help too. All right, restarting, spinning up, refresh this page. All right, it's showing this, but I'm not going to believe it for now. I'm going to believe that it exists on the type and something's not quite picking that up in terms of TypeScript, because I'm also not getting an error. Not the server, but the TS code, Command-Shift-P. Yeah, well, I'm gonna move on for now because I think this is gonna end up working out and giving us what we want. And then we will console log the result. So we can, I imagine we're gonna get an error on this, and that's the reason that our action hasn't been firing properly. And then, oh, result is undefined. All right. Ooh, cannot destructure. That's fine. Although I do this elsewhere. You know, the worst case scenario is as we go forward, I have all this working in another project, so we can always talk about that. We can work through it. Get action results. Let me look at this real fast. Well, let's take why is result undefined is an interesting point for me, because it should not be, which also means it's not firing, right? The form is not actually happening as I expect it to. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything here. Submit. We actually get a bad request, which is interesting. That's always good to see. And again, sometimes these things fail more silently than what we would like. So as we look at it, let's go and see what the actual information is here. So the problem is this is not an error. I don't want to actually filter. All right. Yeah, it's doesn't show it as an error, which is interesting. All right, so what do we get over here? Result is undefined, which also means that we're still not comment form. We've got the action. We're sending actions, create comment. That's where we want that to be. We pass that into our actions. It was working to some degree before we made the input. So let's go back away from that. Let's get the data and the context, and let's run that again. Test 2, submit. Okay, so we are getting data. The data is coming through as form data, which is what we expect. But the reason that I didn't want that is because Astro Actions are actually supposed to make it so that handling the form data is much, much easier. So if we look at this, let's see. Again, I should be able to destructure the data object, and these should actually be what I have. So looking over here, let's take a look at the official documentation. When in doubt, go read the docs, right? All right, so let's go to the form handling area. All right, so we accept form. We are doing that. That's how we're getting the form data. This wouldn't work otherwise. And then we get it in our action. We define the action, accept form, define the types. And then, yeah, see, the handler is an async function that accepts back the names from the other pieces. So that's all of what we're doing. That's all of what's happening already. And should just be working. The names, terms, and email here. So that's the submission. So let's check to make sure again that I am calling that correctly because I'm getting the form data like that. But let's double check. Comment form, name is name, comment is comment. So we should be able to get both of those, right? So instead of this, let's do name and comment again, and name, comment here. I was also passing in post ID, yes. Oh, but yeah, you're right. But that shouldn't be, that would be causing an issue, but I'm not using it. So sorry. I love debugging, right? Gabrielle says, were you passing in post ID? I was not. And so that was probably causing the error because I was console logging it, although it should have just console logged as undefined. Although I did write the input, right? The input did require the post ID. That's probably exactly what was happening. Again, an error would have been helpful there. I would have preferred having an error to the silent fail that was happening. So let's take a look again. This should give us what we're looking for here. All right, let's see. No, name and comment are still undefined. So let's get, I wonder if it's actually this. I don't think it is, because you can see it's already knowing that that's wrong. Data to see, it even knows that this is form data. Again, like TypeScript is awesome and showing me all that information, which is super helpful to have. All right, misspelled one test, didn't misspell the other test. Data is that, but let's take a look at data 0. Because if it's an array, which I wasn't expecting, maybe that's part of our issue. No, undefined. So again, let's pull up the docs. Let's take a look at the docs real fast. So again, the handler is supposed to just be handling this for us. Although, no, here it's saying form data. Oh, that's on the that's because they're doing front end work there, and that's fine. Call actions from an HTML form action. That is what we're doing. So let's take a look there. We don't need to worry about that. Dynamic redirect on success is something that we would do, but we're not there yet. This is what we were doing where we get the result. Form action errors. All right, well, let's grab this actually, because I think this would be potentially interesting. Although we are getting result as undefined. Let's just return, just so we've got that as well. All right. So we don't want data 0. We just want to get data. In fact, let's, what is it? JSON. Dot stringify data null to, so we can maybe see more information. Oh, didn't like it. Probably didn't do that right. Unhandled direction, here's the stack trace. All right, let's just not do that. All right. So like, here's my frustration. Here's what I thought was going to happen. I submit that and it should be giving us this, right? This should be cut. Well, there it is too. We weren't getting that before, were we? We were getting something that looked like this, but now all of a sudden we're actually getting more information. So let's try this a little bit slower. Const name comment equals data. And again, it's not typed yet, but we should now be able to get this and log it. Let's also get the data, so we're seeing everything all at the same time. Get a little bit of space there and resubmit. It's something ridiculous there. All right. All right, I guess I have to do the form data there, but again, I'm not supposed to have to. Form data. All right. Actions will parse submitted form data to an object. Yeah, that's exactly what's supposed to be happening. Using the value of each input's name attribute as the object keys. And we have a name attribute on each of our form fields. For example, a form containing input name equals search will be parsed to an object that is search user input. Your actions input schema will be used to validate. It should just be there to validate. It shouldn't be actually doing anything past that. To receive the raw form data in your action handler, okay, maybe we're doing something wrong here. Instead of a parsed object, omit the input property. Oh, so yeah, this, let's, I'm gonna recommend to the Astro team that this get called out a little bit harder. You do have to have the input property. And I think going back to where we were before, and to Gabrielle's point in chat about passing in post ID, I think I was generating an error at that point because I was requiring something that it wasn't getting. So let's do a new input, and we'll do that again. Input is going to be another Zod object like we were doing before, which is going to get a name, which is a string, and a comment, which is a string, and both are required because Zod if you don't make it optional, automatically makes it required. So theoretically now, that's what we're going to be getting. We're going to be getting what we expect when we submit this. So let's go ahead and have it be real stuff. Comment here. All right. So scrolling on down, and there it is. The name, the comment, and then, okay. It only took us 15 minutes of debugging to get us there when the error was actually in my typing and I didn't get a proper error on that, which is interesting because I should have been. But we are there and we are better for it. We know more for it. So I'm actually going to, let's make the name optional because no, we want it to be required. And then we are also going to want a post ID. And we can actually get that from our comment form. So we're going to pass to the comment form the post ID. So we're going to say const post ID destructured from the astro.props, which is going to be the props that we pass into the Astro component. So in our slug, right, where we're using the comment form, we need to pass in the post's ID. And I got to make sure that in my query, I am getting the post ID because I don't always get it when I don't need it, but I'd rather make it using that. So where are my queries? Queries, posts, single post. I don't believe has the ID right now. It does not. So we'll pass it here, space that properly, and then we'll come back to our post. And on the comment form, which is all the way here, we'll pass the post ID is equal to post.id here. So that should all be fine. And then we need to use that. So we'll go to our comment form and we're going to make what's going to be a hidden field, but we'll start with it not being a hidden field. In fact, no, we'll make it. I think having it be an input field is good here, but we could actually potentially use the context object, I think, to grab that. I think we could pass that data somehow, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're going to have an input type is going to be equal to text. It's going to have a value that comes from our front matter of post ID. And eventually this will be a hidden field. But you can see here, here's the post ID in that. We do want to make it read only. And let's go ahead and hide it because we don't actually need to see it. Now that we know it's there, I'm going to go ahead and hide it. So it's gone, but it is going to be submitted on that submit so that when we come here, we can have the post ID. It's going to be equal to a string. Again, I could type this more specifically, maybe pulling some types from Hygraph. We're not going to worry about that today. We do need it to be a string, and we'll console log that here as well. So now when we submit test name and comment, we'll submit that. And we also get, did it come through? I like when I get like really ahead of myself. I'm like, yay, it's going to work. And that doesn't work. All right, submit that. Okay, again, we're erroring silently, which it was not doing for me when I was playing with it late last week. I was actually getting type errors. Post ID is a string. Is post ID actually? Oh, I know what this is. This is yeah. I'm doing this improperly again. We don't have a name on this, right? So name equals post ID. That is required to do that. Let's give some space here again so we can see what we get through. Test name and comment, submit, and there they are. Name, comment, and post ID all coming through. Result is undefined on the page, which is not what I want, but we can also move that and bring it into our comment form to be a little closer to where it needs to be. All right, so then we need to take a look at our response. We got the action coming through. Let's make sure that we are responding, returning what we need to return. So let's see what that looks like in the documentation, writing our first action. Looks like it can return most anything. Let's see. And then what we do is we can await. Oh, that's part of the problem is I don't think I'm awaiting it. So let's take a look at that real fast. In our comment form, yes, result is not being awaited, which is part of the problem. All right. So we'll come in, we'll send the form again, submit, and now result is still undefined. Excellent news. All right. So let's take a look again at the docs. Let's find the result. So here we're doing, this is in front-end JavaScript, which we're not doing. So let's look at the accepting form. And we had the input. We run a function. Although it doesn't talk about what we need to return out of that function, and I kind of wish it did. Let's see if it says anything about it. Define a newsletter action to handle the submitted form, validate the email field using that, and the terms using Boolean. See the input reference. I don't need to do that right now. And then they're submitting it via JavaScript, and I'm not. I'm doing this. So let's see. You can enable Zero.js form submission, which is what I'm doing right now, with standard attributes on the form. Form submissions without client-side JavaScript may be useful for fallback or when JavaScript fails to load, or you can entirely handle it on the server, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was comparing this to like PHP. Calling get action result on the server returns the result of your form submission data or error and can be used to dynamically redirect, which that's what we're doing, but I was pretty sure I could do this on my front end as well. To call an action from an HTML form, add the post method, use the actions. That's what we're doing. This will set the action attribute to the query string that is handled by the server automatically. So let's see. You can retrieve the action result from your Astro component by calling Astro. You know what we're doing? Are we doing that right? Yeah, we're doing that right. By using the astro.getActionResult. So action.getAstroResult, calling the actions with the proper name. We get the results. If result and there's no error, then we're doing the redirect here, which we're not doing in ours, but we certainly could be. Handling form action errors is what we want as well. So again, we need to be getting a result. And if there is an error on the result, we want to display the error. For more customization, you can also use the isInputError utility, which is kind of nice as well to know what you're getting there. So the const result equals, again, I think we're doing that correctly, but we're not actually getting the result from the action, which makes me think that we're not returning what we actually need to return from the action. But there's no current documentation on that. It doesn't look like. I mean, persist data and error with a single use cookie. This means get action result will return a result in the first request only. That's fine. And undefined when revisiting the page. That's what we want to have happen. Like for multi-page forms, we could use this, right? Transition persist, but we don't need to do that right now. Result error. I mean, this is what we want. This is how it's supposed to be working. It is on a page, which again is why I thought we were doing what we were doing. Anyway, let's move on a little bit and let's actually post a comment into Hygraph, because that's really what I wanted to do today. Obviously, there's a lot more to this, and we're failing pretty dramatically here. However, we can still get this to work. We can still submit all this in with a mutation from Hygraph. So in the last 11 minutes, let's make that happen. We need a new schema. The new schema is going to be a comment schema. So let's call comment here. The comment is going to have the fields that we need. So we need a name. We'll use it as a title field. Sure, that might make it a little bit easier. And we need a multi-line text because we're not actually doing rich text on this, and this will be called comment. And then we need a reference field, and the reference field will be referencing the blog post. So we'll come down to our reference field, add that in. This is going to be allow one model. We're going to reference the post. And this is actually going to be, do I care to make this a two-way reference? Yeah, I want to be able to get it both ways. I think we're going to allow multiple comments per post, but only one post per comment. I'm not going to do a lot of configuration here. We'll let that just stand. So now we have these three things, and we have in our API playground now, if we have the right permissions in our token, we can add, let's do, instead of a query, a mutation. We could do a create comment where we could pass it the comment, the name, and the post. And the post, instead of create, we're going to connect using the ID. We could connect on the slug, and that's honestly probably what we would do, but ID is much stronger, I think, for that. So this is basically what we're going to be doing. But first, we need to set up a token for this project. So we'll set up a new permanent auth token. We already have the preview token. We have a Hygraph token, which is a read-only token, I believe, right now. So let's make a create comment token. We want it to be published. Let's add that in. And let's add our permissions. Oh, well, sure, initialize default. I didn't mean to actually do that. I'm just so used to doing it. We want to, it's got read permissions on everything already, so that's good. We want the ability to create on the comment only. And we want to be able to, we want to also be able to update and publish on the model that we're going to be attaching it to. So I think that's all we need for this. And then we'll create another set of permissions for that connection, right? That connection is technically adding an update over onto the post. So I need to be able to actually update post as well. So we'll update post. And that should be all we need to do there, because we are already having read permissions from the accidental default that I set up here. So we've got read on all models. We've got create, update, and publish on comment. And we've got update for post, which theoretically we'd also probably need publish on post if I'm remembering correctly, because we have to be able to publish as well. So let's get post added in, where we have a publish from, I probably want all to all, really. All right. We had this token. We're going to add it over into our .env file. So let's call this the comment token. Save that in. And then what we can do is we can use that in a new client. Let me see what my client looks like before I go any further, so I don't waste time debugging there. That is in my utils client. All right, so it's just a standard GraphQL client from GraphQL request, which means we can adjust the header where we need to. So in our action, we are going to need that client. So inside of our handle, we'll say, we'll actually just set clients. We'll get that from utils. We'll say set header, authorization, bearer. We don't actually want this, although we could set up an auth token. That'd be really interesting. This we want to be import meta env. What do we call it? Comment. Always remember what you call things. Comment token. So we're setting the header. This allows us to actually post with it. And then we can create the new comment. So we'll say client.request. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass this some information. So we know the first parameter is going to be our query, and the second parameter is going to be our variables. We know that the data variable, which is what we're going to set, is going to have the name, comment, and post ID, all of which I think is what we're calling things here: comment, name, and post. So post is just going to be post. We'll call it post ID. That's fine. Where is that? Data. Oh, because it's name, comment, and post ID. And then what we'll do is we'll have a query comment mutation set our, let's see, we actually don't need data. Let's not make this data. That's making it more complex than we need it to be. We want name, comment, and post. So let's set those up here. We need name. It's going to be a string and it's required. Comment is a string that's required. And post ID is currently a string that's required. So then we can take all of that. Let's go ahead and move this to an easier place to read. And then we'll write our query here. So that will be create comment. That's going to be data. And we're going to have the comment is going to be equal to our comment variable. The name is equal to our name variable. And then for our post, we're going to run a connect. And the connect needs the ID. So it's an object ID colon variable of post ID. So I think this is what we want to be. We might get an error here. And if we do, we'll have to call it a day because I can't debug it that fast. So let's do all that. We're sending that. We need this to be a const result equals client.request, all that good stuff. And then console log the result. So we can see this and see what we get from there. And we'll restart the server because we did make an environment variable change there. And it'll load. We'll come back over here and we will submit my name. This is an insightful comment. And we will submit and see what happens. There was an error there. It flashed for a second. So that means that we know something didn't quite work. We are getting a parse error, which means that my GraphQL query is probably not awaiting. Await that. That's a helpful error. Do you see that error? Look at that helpful error. Make sure your promises all have await or catch. Let's make sure there's nothing else happening here. Unexpected string name expected. Let's see. Expected string. All right. I probably did not format my GraphQL correctly here. Let's take a look at this. So this would actually be name, my name, comment, test comment, and the post ID. Let's grab that. I'm going to go until I get this. Well, not really, but I'm going to go hopefully until I get this. Let's get our content. Live preview. Why are you pulling up? I don't want you right now. Oh, I got rid of all this stuff the other day when I was demoing something. Let's see. Schema, sidebar. I want entry information for post. So we need to bring that back. Sidebar, entry information, add it in. So we come back to our content, go into the post. Now I can get that ID. Let's pass that ID in to the playground as post ID and submit that and see what error we get. Ooh, okay. So let's take a look. Comment. Expected a colon. Oh, comma. Yep, there's a comma there. Typos. And this also needs a $sign. All right, so let's take a look. Let's add that in. Comment should not have a comma. And post ID needs that $sign in front of it. All right, let's run this again, see what we get. Full name. This is insightful. Submit. All right, let's see. And result was undefined, but that's on the front end. right, that's all there. You know what I'm also not doing that I have to do? After I create the comment, I do have to return things from it. ID. Let's just do that. And first, let's double check. Did I actually get this added in? Content. Comment. No, yes, because it wasn't returning something, which was a GraphQL error at that point. So now, full name, insight. All right, that took a little longer, which I feel like is a positive thing. Should probably be calling this something else. Result, just so we can see better there. All right, let's see. Did I get a new comment? I didn't. And I'm not getting the error that I want. And I'm not getting the result that I want. All right. Let's get a little bit more sight there. Submit. All right. Yeah, it's not even running that anymore. Again, we're failing silently when we probably shouldn't be. We should be getting some errors in our console. So again, this is probably something that I'm going to report into the Astro team because I'm really good at breaking stuff. As it turns out, that's actually a super helpful skill to product teams. Let's see. So result equals await dot request. That should be returning something closer to what I expect. Where am I logging out that information? Let's stop logging here. Setting my header to that. I'm not getting an error back from Hygraph, which I would expect to if the permissions weren't set properly. All right, so this isn't running on just the regular page load, and that's absolutely correct. Test, submit. You can see my console log here is not running, which means something is going wrong. We are getting console logs up here. I could technically toss this into a try catch, right? And maybe we'll get better information. Let's see. I don't actually want to throw the new error. I want to get the error and we'll just console log it. I do need to throw it eventually because that's how the front end will actually get that error, I believe. So we'll try this. We'll catch any errors and we'll log the error. Test. Okay, we are getting stuff now, which means something. Field create comment is not defined on. It's not query, it's mutation. All right. Test, submit. Did that actually run again? Is this giving me a new error or the old error? Expecting type ID for that. All right, that's fine. That's fine. It is going to be an ID coming through, although I'm not typing it that way on my front end. All right. Let's see. Client error. Mutation failed due to permissions errors. All right. I'm missing a permission that I need for it. Failed actions, create model on stage draft. So I need these also on stage draft as well. All right. So let's go to our project settings. Let's go into the permanent auth tokens again. Let's edit this one. And we need to edit each of these to, that's, all right, hold on. We'll just add to draft mode as well. Hello? Add permissions for create, update, publish, I think that's all the stuff that I had. Read. Oh, we also need the read on draft. That's another thing that we actually need. Although this says for all stages, that's probably what we're missing. I added the create, update, delete, and all that to others, I believe, but not to the read. And the read is necessary to make that work. You have to be able to read the things that you're updating. I'm going to restart the server just in case on this, and we're 5 over, so we're totally going to have this work on this time. My test name, my test comment, submit. Aha, results. Create comment. We have our comment created. I told you it was going to work this time. So that was the read permissions. You have to be able to read on draft as well. So now what we have, and what we're not going to continue on today, is we have a comment in draft mode. So I could theoretically, in the same action, publish this comment, or I could leave that to my editors. I could also go in, and I think an interesting thing to usually do on comments is to add a Boolean to your comment field that is approved, so that instead of worrying about publish or not publish, you worry about approved or unapproved. Or you could use this as another type of data, and you could add approved or moderated or any number of things like that, and then I can go in and I can actually click that. So to recap the long stream where there were many errors that happened, we implemented a form with comment form. We had a name, a comment, and we also had this hidden field that has the post ID that we get from the props on this Astro object, on this Astro component. We then passed all of that. In the form, we had an action. The action was the actions.createComment, which we defined out in our actions index using the define action method given to us by Astro Actions. We type checked our form submission. We went round and round with that for a little bit because we were getting form data when we weren't expecting it, until I made the type definition here. Then we finally got our information. We made a new token in Hygraph. We passed it to this client here because the client that we have for all the other pages is read only. And then we ran a mutation that was create comment with the comment that got passed, the name, and the post ID with a connect action on our mutation. And then the next step would be to take the ID that we get back, publish it, and then return it to our form there and get all that information from the actions there. Might clean this up, might do this again next week so we can take it even further, might look at doing things like likes or other things. I do think this is a good way of working, even though we were having some silent fails this week on the errors. But yeah, I think we got it up and running in just a little over an hour. So I'm not too upset about where we got. If you do have any questions, or I moved too fast, or the errors were overwhelming, or what have you, and you want to learn more about this, join our Slack community. We can talk more about that. It is at slack.hygraph.com. You can join it. You can ask questions about Hygraph. I'd be more than happy to talk more about Astro in the community as well. Also, this is where we post a lot of the information about when these streams are happening, so be sure to check out there. Our amazing field marketing manager, Angie, takes care of that for me, so I don't have to think about it. It's amazing. And also, the things that we're doing today are free on the Hygraph free account, app.hygraph.com/sign up to get in there. They're also available as starters. We have the Astro blog starter. When you sign up, you can select the blog starter. You can get that there. And then also, I do want to plug our documentation, where we don't have this because this is new functionality, but we do have all the implementation for setting up Astro on your own project in our implementation guides at hygraph.com/documentation or /docs. So go check it out there. All the other information you need to get up and running for Hygraph is there as well. So yeah, unless there are any questions, which I doubt there are because you've been with me for over an hour now. I think we'll call it a week there, and we'll see you around next week. And I hope you keep doing amazing things with Hygraph, and you come join us and talk about them in our community as well. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.